scared. Come on. Bring it. Go. You go talk to this pizza. Yeah. Protect the cord if you got around. You know where to go? Yeah. Are you sure? No? Okay. Not done. Go on closer. No. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. See, I only have 2 sets of students today, so I alternate them. You guys don't use the same computers. So you know where to go. Robert, I got a beef with you. Come here. Me? Yeah, you. Okay. Good morning. Put the answers in my comment, in the comment. Oh, yeah? Yeah. Oh. I deleted it. Do I have to redo it? Well, do you still have it saved somewhere? You should submit it like an assignment. Oh. With all the slackers, it's all between when I deleted it and you posted it, I got free. Well, really? Yeah, don't do that. Oh, huh? Welcome back. Did she convince you?
She said she's gonna think on it. Try to see it and see if she can see it from my side. She's not saying that I should cook, but she's not saying I can't.
Well, I got everybody. We can start. Yeah. We got 4 hours, so we really have to beat a whole lot of rain. But I got the stream going, which is a good thing. So let me get this up. Put that up, and I need that PBIS thing. How are y'all today? Good. Let me do some attendance. See who all's here. All right. I get this already? Oh, I did. Okay, team. You're about to lose access to your computer. Surprise. Uh-oh. Don't turn that on. Like that. Should I get the notepad? Yeah. Okay, here's our plan for the day. Okay, first, we're going to knock out for second period. Let's talk about second and third period. First thing we're going to do is we're going to knock out the PBIS. And then we're going to talk about requirements, documentation. You want me to make the font bigger? You think it's fine? I can make the font bigger. Oh, I haven't showed the stream what we're doing. Stream. Come join us. Boom, boom. And you should be able to see. There you go. All right. Okay, so all right, so we have the requirements documentation, and then did we go over the variables with y'all? I feel like I did that. Did we talk about what a double is?
Yeah.
And an int? We did all the scanner stuff? Okay, cool. And so then you can work on backyard pond sizer. So that's the plan for second period. For third period, y'all want to keep making that game? Y'all cool with that? Learn Java by water fire hydrant? Yeah? You'll catch some of it? Yeah. Okay. So we'll make the game. We'll do PBIS. And then we will make the game. And then you can work on things. Maybe they'll give you one of those quizzes too, which would be nice because AP Classroom has a bunch of quizzes. Or maybe I'll do it next time we meet. Who knows? No, I'll probably just let you work on programs next time. So, okay. So that's our general plan. Any questions, concerns, comments, thoughts? Are you ready to get this knocked out? Your excitement's contagious. Let's do it. Hey, look, it's a requirements document. That's for later. Present. I did take attendance, like a pro. Further reminders. Athletic shorts must be mid-thigh or longer. So, yep. And yeah, don't be in large groups. There's some styling people with their masks. 2 of them wearing it wrong. I know the lip cover is more comfortable, but you know.
Doesn't block all the air. Gotta do a self-screening. Did y'all self-screen today? Did you wake up this morning and say, do I have a fever? Do I have a cough, shortness of breath, fatigue, muscle aches, headache? I mean, if you're in football, you're probably gonna be hurting anyway, but gotta be careful. Sore throat, congestion, nausea, diarrhea. Have you been around someone with COVID? Do you know about what shout outs are? Yeah, there's those little signs over there. Shout out to somebody. Doing great. Put on a video. There's how to do a shout out over the QR code. Fill out the form. If you want to give a shout out, you can. Okay, moving on. And if you want to suggest different prizes, there's a link for that too. Lockdown drill. You know how to do a lockdown drill? We're going to hide over here on this wall. We're going to make sure the blinds are closed. Sometimes I open the blinds to match my sunny personality, but today they're not open. So don't have to worry about that. And then we're going to like probably flip one of those tables over and jam it underneath the door, turn the lights off, and try to make sure nobody gets in here. It's like the good old playing fort. You're a kid. Cycle. List for instructions, barricade the door. It's going to be great. Fire drill. Go out to the baseball fields. That way. There's an outside door. If you hang a left, keep going. Good baseball fields. All good? Next period is third period. Right here. Okay. What's the next on the to-do list? Requirements. Okay, so here's the requirements. So there are going to be lessons that apply to the year 4 students. But you guys also should know what they are because, well, one, you might go get a job, and then they would say, hey, how does this work? And two, this is also kind of on the AP test. They talk about like the software planning process. And if I teach it now, then I don't have to teach it later. So you don't have to know it in as much detail as what we're describing here. And I'm going to describe more like what you would need for the AP test when we get closer to that. But what I would want you to do is kind of just pay attention so that you can generally talk about it to somebody who asks. You know, it's like you're trying to impress the ladies with your intelligence. You can talk about what a use case is. All right, let's talk about what requirements is. Okay, so if I were to tell you you're making a requirements document, what do you think that is? And if you're in chat, you should totally reply too. If I want you to have a document of requirements, and we're in like a programming world, what do you think that is? Things that are required for the program. By you? Or by a customer? By the government? By what? By the customer. But also maybe the government, like if there's regulations, right? So like if you're designing a student software program, like to manage schools, there are government laws on student privacy. So even though the customer says I want these things, you also have to know like that the government requires these things. Yeah, like you have to have some security of information and all that stuff. So a requirements document is the way in software we list this out and yeah. So normally you'd find a customer, either they come to you or you approach them, and oftentimes like software is built by people that need just a small number of steps done a lot of times, right? So like I put my grades in, have to average them by hand, or I don't know what's another example of like a Word document. Would just be instead of having to rewrite things over and over by hand, it's all in one computer screen, and you can just hit print, right? So anyway, so things like that. And so if I were having you do this, I'd be like, hey, you should email them, find when you can meet. And so those of you in the practicum, if you're looking for a real customer, then this would apply. You could politely email them, find a time you can meet up with them. And so then you're going to get an idea, you're going to picture it, you might storyboard it, and you want to make sure that your team can do the job. So one of the, this is actually, in like real big software worlds, this requires like a PhD. Like the most educated person is the one that writes this document. Why do you think that is? Why would it be a big deal that the most educated person is the one that does this first step? Anybody got any got ideas to throw out there? Y'all ever like go moving, help somebody move, and some idiot's like, yeah, we can move that, and you're standing there in a group and you're going, without a dolly we can't move that, and they're like, nah, we got it. A requirements document ends up functionally being your contract. If a customer says they're not happy with your software, then you pull out your requirements document and you say, does it do this? Does it do this? Does it do this? If it does, you don't sue me, you pay me money. Right? You don't want somebody to be like, yeah, I can make a program do that. Yeah, we can do that. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Solve World 100? Got it. You could feed everybody in the world? Sure, no problem. You don't want them to say stupid things because you're legally bound to your contracts. And this makes up the contract. So you check to see if your team is able to do it, and then you also want to realistic timeline in terms of what you say you can do, and then also in terms of how quickly you get back to them. So requirements meeting are super fun. You sit down with your customer and you're like, what do you want? And like, have any of you ever tried to like sit down with someone who's not an expert in an area and get them something they want? That may be like a me only experience, but I can tell you it's super fun because you'll sit down and go, what do you want? And they're like, I want a program. Okay, what do you want to do? Stuff. What do you want it to look like? Have a box? Like they just don't know, right? You just gotta ask questions and ask questions and ask questions and say like, do you want this? Draw a picture out. Best thing is a whiteboard and a cell phone camera. You just draw stuff, take a picture, erase. Draw stuff, take a picture, erase. Give them the pen. Draw what you think this should look like. They draw it out. Draw how you think this should work. How does your stuff normally work, right? Because they are an expert in something. I don't know, you might be working for like livestock, organizing like a supply of livestock, right? So like I'm not an expert in livestock, and I can make someone a program for someone who works in livestock. But when I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to have to learn enough about their industry for them to be able to explain what kind of program they need. Make sense? So you get to have lots of fun conversations like that. And then you also want to find out like what kind of systems they have, so we install their software, doesn't just crash their system. That would be bad. So are they running a new PC, old PC? What specs can they give you? What do they know about their computer hardware off the top of their head? Okay, this is called a use case diagram. Has anybody ever seen a use case diagram? Going once, going twice. Okay, so and I'll show you an example, a student example in a little bit. But these little stick figures are called actors. And And every one of these circles is called a use case. So like this is a student, this is like a college financial system, and so there's tons of use cases. And every use case is like a full page of work, a full page of text. You'll see that in a little bit. And so what you're mainly doing is saying, like, who's going to try to use the software, and then what will it look like for them to use it in that big idea. So like the student might try to pay their fees. And so we'd say, how does it look if a student wants to pay their fees? Well, they log in, they are able to look at their fees, they submit online payments, they confirm it, they're done. Something like that, right? And so you would just list all that out in text, and that would just be this one circle. And all your circles would have step-by-step instructions of what that looks like, so that when you go back and test it, and when you go back and say, did I deliver what I promised, everybody knows up front, this is what it's going to look like. Make sense? I would say cool, right? But I think you guys are too sleepy right now to agree with me. And then if you're doing this as a project, which we may end up doing later, you'd submit the requirements document to the customer, give them time. This is like their contract. If they sign off on it, then that's like, you do this, you get paid in the real world, right? So this ends up being your contract, and they pull it out in courtroom, they sue. Like, you didn't build a cool program because it doesn't have this cool icon, or it doesn't have these quality of life features. Well, you didn't put it in the requirements document. I don't have to. You can contract me out to do those things if you want. Right? This is a legally binding contract in the software world. And you probably shouldn't try to like be adding other things on top of it until this project's done. So if they call you up and they're like, "Hey, can you also do this? Let me finish this project, and then we'll bake this in." Okay, so that's a requirements doc. This is a student example. This was for a golf coach. Golf coach was the golf coach was looking for a program that would help her handle matchings of students in golfing groups and then take their scores. We developed it for her. And so these are the use cases, and here's the actor. And for some reason, they connected it to his brain. And so this is the use case diagram, and then these are the requirements, and every one of the bubbles has some text. Make sense? Yes? No? There's something. And so then we'll say like teams. It'll usually be something like assign teams or configure teams. And so then there's a step of like the system will do this, the system will do this. And so when you go back and test it, you could actually pull up this document, and when you have a finished program and try to get somebody to pay you, you're like, look, these are the things it does. The other thing this is useful for is your test cases. When you write out how you test your program, then you would use these before you ever write the program. You would know how you're going to test it. So if any questions or concerns, comments, thoughts? No? Yes? No? If you're in Pragma IT, if you want to partner up, that's cool. Send me an email on who's partnering up. If you are going to work solo, I want you to make this document with at least let's do 2 use cases. We'll just say 2 of these little bubbles, and every one bubble needs to have at least 5 steps to it. So if you were to do something like, let's just pick a game, like Pac-Man. Pac-Man's pretty easy, right? Yes, no? Pac-Man's pretty easy, yeah. Y'all okay if I make one real quick? Would that be helpful to you understand what's going on here? Okay, look. We'll do Pac-Man, because I like drawing. Woo. Always got a stick figure. Don't put people's face in there. You get in so much trouble. You think I'm joking? And students submit that as their contract to their customer. Had the guy's face in it. It's not amused. Okay, so like if we're making Pac-Man, what might be like a big idea? What's the obvious, like, what's the only thing you do with Pac-Man? You play the game. Right? Yeah? Okay, so we play the game. I mean, another thing might be like, if you're like, we won't do the second one, but the other one might be like view high scores. Right? If you wanted to have a second one. There you go. And we put a label here. This is the player. Some of you are like, why would you have a label? Like, isn't there only one person interacting with the game? But maybe not. Maybe this is a cool Pac-Man, and they can tell you statistics on like how long people play, or like keep a record of your financials because it takes quarters. Right? Like you might have someone else, like the game owner, that would be able to interact with the Pac-Man machine and be able to have other functionality, right? Like process payments or whatever else. Okay, so now we'll do play the game. So for our requirements document, number 1, play the game. So A. Actually, let's go back. Let's do this. Let's do A. Let's do 1. So how do you play a game of Pac-Man? What's the first thing you do? The system will wait for the player to press start. Then what? What will the system do? We can't control what the player does. We can control what the system does. What happens when they press start? The system will like load the game or something. Y'all cool with that? Yeah. The system will, we'll say load the map, player, ghost, pellets, and score. System will allow the player to move around the map. The system will allow the player to pick up pellets for points. Yeah? What else is gonna happen? Oh, the system will direct the ghost to chase the player. And along that, the system, you all notice a pattern here? Everything starts with system will. The system will allow the player to die. When he touches, they go. And let's not even get into what 2-player would look like. Ah! Because that would have a whole nother set of. This is all just 1 player. And maybe like the system, we'll do 2 more. The system will allow the player to eat ghost. Then he eats a big pellet. The system will provide a new map when all pellets are eaten. All right, and that's a basic Pac-Man. But I haven't talked about like different point values for like the fruit. I haven't talked about the different types of ghosts. I haven't talked about loading different maps. At this point in time, all the maps will be the same, right? So this is like completely not a full requirements document, but hopefully it gives you a good idea of what that would look like. And so if you ever see this, then you go get a job in software. That's what a requirements document is. And it's just listing the big ideas, and then you go to the big ideas, and you can read the individual steps. If they have you write test cases, which we'll talk about in a week or so, then you would take each of those things, and you would be writing test cases about each of those things. How you could not do it, how you could break it, or whatever. So, okay, I hope that helps. Do y'all need me to review anything from last week on variables? Going into computer science, CSA stuff now. On variables, do y'all need any content recovered? Or do you just want me to walk around and try to help? Okay, I'm going to walk around because you guys are just so talkative. I don't feel like we can get much work done. I'm just kidding. Okay, bye stream. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Let me know. We'll